ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rainy Day Podcast. This special episode, man. Today we got one of the Mount Rushmore Dolphin fans, probably of all time. We got the great Big E with us today.
Hey, Adrian, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you allowing me to join you this evening. And I have to say, though, that I know you say I'm on the Mount Rushmore, but there's so many awesome fans out there. I don't know if I'm deserving of that title, but I appreciate it.
Well, I would say you are, and I'm sure a lot of other people would agree with me. I want to thank you for coming on. Been wanting to meet you for a long time. And it's an honor really to have you on the show, but just an honor to meet you. And just want to say that I know you've been going through some things, and that's mainly what we're here for, to get the message out there, get the awareness out there, and hopefully, get you some help, which it will happen. It's just a matter of time. So, but yeah, I just want to get right into it first. First of all, I want to ask you, as a father and as a husband, I want to ask you, how are you doing, and how's your family all dealing with this?
It's I have my good days and my bad days. Where I always try and stay optimistic and positive, but then as days go by and I haven't heard anything from from University of Pennsylvania, and I haven't gotten that call. It's just like it's tougher. And then when I have to go down to the hospital too, because I've got a fever or I'm not feeling well, that's when it hits you. I think it's just human nature, right? Like I don't think I'm special in feeling that way, but it's definitely those are the tougher days. But my family's been amazing. My family has been unbelievable. My oldest daughter, who's away at college, she's always checking in on me, and especially when I'm in the hospital, she tries to FaceTime me as much as possible and cheer me up because she knows how much it stinks. And my youngest, she's just chugging along. She's a junior in high school, and um, juniors in high school shouldn't have to go through this, because they're getting ready for their future. So it's a little tough. Um, but my wife is amazing too. She's a rock. I'd say out of the 40 days I've spent in the hospital, um, she's probably been there 38 or 39 nights. And the only nights that she wasn't there was when I kicked her out and I said, you need to go home. You need to take a shower. You need to do some stuff. But she is, I always, when I'm talking to my friends, I'm like, we've been married for 20 some odd years. And when we got married 20 some odd years ago, I didn't know what kind of wife I was going to get. But she is just so caring. She is so vocal to make sure that I'm taken care of and that we're finding the right people and the right doctors. And she's so supportive. I'm very lucky, very, very lucky.
That's awesome to hear, man. Yeah, I mean, I just, with all the stuff going on, it's good to have that support, especially, your wife and your kids. Um, I couldn't imagine. So, you know, um, all the faith in them and all the faith in you that we're gonna get through this. And like I said, it's only a matter of time. So, but yeah. So, tell me about. I know PSE. It's a autoimmune disease. I read, that some people often don't even have symptoms. So, thank God that you did actually have some symptoms and you actually got it figured out what it was, so you could take the next steps and to getting a liver. But I'm gonna let you have the floor and you go ahead and you tell everybody about it.
It's amazing how much I've learned about this autoimmune disorder, and as you mentioned, it's primary sclerosing cholangitis, and doctors to this day have not figured out how people get it. And I'm on a group chat on Facebook with about 7,500 people who have been infected or have family members who have been affected throughout the world, and they share kind of what they're going through. And some people were diagnosed 20 some odd years ago and never have symptoms, or 20 some odd years ago, then all of a sudden they start getting some symptoms, right? But for me, it started happening last April, about a year ago, and I was feeling nauseous, when I was about to eat, and I knew something wasn't right, but I thought it may have been antacid. I've never spent a day in the hospital in my life until this whole thing happened. So I'm thinking upset stomach, whatever, and started taking some antacids. Didn't really calm it down. I had my annual physical in June, excuse me, after I was dealing with this. They took some blood, and that's when they found that it was the liver enzymes were really high. Now, my general practitioner, he's not a liver expert, I guess you could say. He knows a little bit about everything, right, but not a lot about certain things. So he thought it was a fatty liver disease, which wouldn't have been bad because fatty liver, you can get it reversed, you can change your diet, you could do some stuff. And he's like, go on a diet and see how that works. And I was like, that doesn't make sense. I've already lost 20 some odd pounds, and it's not necessarily because I was trying to lose weight. So, I went to a GI doctor in Boca Raton. Actually ended up seeing two GI doctors in Boca Raton, and they thought it may have been just gallstones that were stuck, some other stuff. Went through tests for that, and again, nothing came up. Nothing was figured out, and then I started going to University of Miami because that's where they have special doctors that really focus on those hard to determine liver diseases. They're called hepatologists. And I met one who was really, really good, been around a very long time. And then I met a second who was the one who finally, after tests, me being in the hospital a couple of times, she said, this is primary sclerosing cholangitis. And the problem is that not every person has the same issues that go along with PSC. So mine is that my bile does not flow through my body, flow through the liver appropriately. Usually you have like these little tubes that the bile flows out of through your liver, and for me they're blocked. So what's happening is the liver was trying to force the bile out of the walls of the liver, from what I was told, which is what created the liver to go into stage 4 cirrhosis. So what they did, so at one point I became super yellow, because that's another symptom of issues with your liver, issues with biles, and that's
Jaundice.
exactly jaundice. And
Yeah.
usually people hear that with babies, right? And
Yeah.
that you put them under light and their color comes back. But in this case, it was a different reason. And I was extremely yellow at one point, and they said, you're gonna start hallucinating if we don't do these types of procedures. And I was like, tell me what the procedure is. And he said, I gotta put at first it was, I have to put one tube in your liver that comes out of your abdomen and drains the bile. And I was like, all right, well, if that's what it's going to take for me to feel better, let's do it. Right. Did it. And the number kept increasing, which is the bilirubin number. That's what determines what's happening with jaundice. And he's like, all right, well, I have to do a second one because you have a right side of your liver, you have a left side of your liver. So they put the second one in. As soon as they put the second, and both of them were working right, my bilirubin numbers came down considerably. So that happened in October or November. So now we're about 6 or 7 months in, where I've had these tubes, and they have to be exchanged like every 6 or 7 weeks. And I got to go down to Miami, and it's hard. It's hard. But I know that this is what's saving my life right now. So, and then really with all the hospitalizations I've had, I had a real heart to heart with my hepatologist at the University of Miami when I was in the hospital once. And she said, you're coming to see us about every month. This is not the way to live. And she said, you need a liver transplant. Eventually it's going to get to the point where your liver is not going to function anymore, and you're going to be on the deceased donor list. She said, and you basically be in your deathbed waiting for a replacement, a liver. And then she said, or you can get a live living donor. And she's like, we don't really do that here in Miami, but I got a recommendation to do it up in Pennsylvania at UPenn. And I went through a couple months worth of evaluation with them. First, like 30 some odd vials of blood, and going through interviews with the various doctors that work on the transplants up there. And last week, actually, they finally approved me, and they said, you are pen ready, is what they call it. So yes, I was very fortunate. So now it's just waiting for the second, I guess, straw to fall, or whatever we want to call it, the second shoe to drop, which is finding the person who's the match, who can donate part of the liver. Because again, it's when I'm not looking for a full liver, because people can't function without their full liver.
Yeah.
You just take a piece of it, right? And I think they say it's about 50 to 65% of the liver is what gets transferred over to the person who needs the donation. It will grow to 100% in my body, and then in their body, it will grow back to 100%, which is pretty amazing. It's something I never thought I'd ever need to know, but I know that, and I'm spreading the word now. So it leads me to this week, and we've had a couple of people who've gone through the process. I actually know one individual who actually been keeping in contact with my wife, and she said I couldn't match because you need a certain size to fit. She said, but I'm going to stay with the process and help somebody else at UPenn because they have 200 people waiting for livers and live liver donations. And she said, I'm going to help save someone else's life. So I'm really happy about that. Happy, but also anxious and a little afraid for myself, hoping that one day I'll get that call, the good one.
You will, Biggie. Have faith, man. Just have faith. It's coming. Definitely.
I'm trying
So
to.
I know the site. I know the site is nkr.org/BHP638, and I'm gonna put it up. So
Perfect.
that is the site you have, National Kidney Registry, I believe.
Yes. Yes. And they do livers too. So it's weird when I first saw it too. I'm
Yeah,
like, wait a second, this is the kidney registry. And they're like, no, we do livers also. So they allow us to create our own little website, which gives information and shares how you can help and how you can basically apply if you're interested.
definitely. And I mean, you got your whole story on there, and I don't know how anyone reads that and doesn't get emotional about it, especially how many people you've impacted in your life, in the Dolphins community, what you've done for, all the fans, man. You're always trying to help people. Such a positive person. I compare you a lot to Lisa. You guys both cut from the same cloth, love to help people, and just always very positive, man. You gotta love it.
Thank you. And I'll
Um,
tell you, I'm and I know some people can't volunteer to help for one reason or another, and I respect that. And I know it's hard for people, but what they've been doing is sharing the story because I think the more people that put eyes on it, the more of a chance there might be somebody who says, "Yeah, I think I can do this. I think I can." It's going to be about 4 weeks for rehab once you go through, as a donor. Even though it will end up being about 3 months of rehab for me. But you, as a donor, you get back to normal life really quickly, from what I understand. So somebody who's able to do that, who's able to travel to Pennsylvania because that's where the surgery takes place, um, and someone who matches all of the criteria, the blood, the size, the whole 9 yards. So really, if people can't participate, at least they can share. And I know I've seen that a lot, and I can't say thank you enough to everybody who has clicked that share button or retweet button, whatever we want to call it these days. But it's helpful. It is really helpful.
yeah, and I mean that lets you know how many people like you've touched and how many people love you. So, and all that love, man, it's gonna happen, man. Everybody's manifesting it. It's gonna happen. So
I hope so. I hope so because I'm looking forward to the day. Um, I'm looking forward to the day.
I know it, Biggie, man. It's gonna happen. All right. You need to know that. I know days get hard. Like you said, there's good days and bad days. Those days where you don't get a call or you're not hearing anything, you get disheartened and everything, but you're gonna make it, man. And somebody, it's like a lottery ticket. And everybody's putting it out there, sharing. The more people see it, the more chances you have, you know. And you got a lot of chances as
Just
we
need
can
one,
see this
man. Just
community.
need one.
That's
Just need
it.
one to hit.
Yeah, and this community is huge, man. It's huge, and you're a big part of it. So I'm sure everybody's doing everything they can to help you.
No,
So
I know that, and I can't. Again, like I said, I can't thank everybody enough. It's gonna happen. I feel it's gonna happen. It's just I'm anxious, and I want to get it over
of
with.
course,
And and a little selfish of me, I also want to get it done before football season because I really want to be able to
there you
enjoy
go.
the season.
There you
But
go.
if I'm sitting up there in the hospital and it's game day, I'm turning the TV on. If I'm rehabbing up there for the 3 months and there's a game on, I'm going to be watching it up there. I'm going
Of
to
course,
figure out a way to
you were in the
watch it.
hospital last year watching games. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So I can do it
so
again. I can do it again.
like, that's it. Hopefully rehabbing by then.
Exactly. That's my hope. That's my goal.
That's it. All right. Yeah, man. Speaking of the Dolphins, though, how you feel about the draft? I'll ask that question first before I go on any other.
I was encouraged with the first two picks. I think building through the trenches, I think was the right strategy. Um, what's funny is that for Jonah, the second pick, we were at a restaurant because the Dolphins traded up, remember, for that one. And my wife and I
Yeah,
were at a restaurant because I was planning to go home and jump on a podcast when their pick came up. But I see the trade and I'm looking and it's an offensive lineman. And my my wife, she's not a huge football expert, but she knows the basics. And she says,
Yeah.
I told her who they got. She's like, is he going to protect Tua? I said, yeah. She says, well, then good, because Tua needs to be protected, and the more protection he has, the better he's going to be. So I felt that was good. Everybody else, in rounds 5, 6, and 7, it's a wild card because you really don't know how these guys are going to perform until they put their pads on, until they're playing against NFL players. The film I saw on every single one of them looked great, but in many cases that film was against, a higher ranked team that they were on versus a lower ranked team. So it makes them look a little bit better. And in the NFL, if you think about it, there's really a very small, window here where from the best player to the worst player, and you've got to be able to fit in that mold to be able to contribute. So I'm not negative. I think a lot of people have been panning it, and I want to see it come to fruition. I unfortunately there are some guys over the last 2 or 3 seasons that we drafted really high, and they haven't contributed, and that's a constant concern, especially when we had a good number of guys that were drafted over the weekend.
Draft is a lottery, literally. So you never know. I mean, these guys, you can go in the first round, you can get top 5 pick. It doesn't matter. You might not pan out in the NFL. I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know the percentage, but I know it's very low. Like draft picks that make it more than 5 years in the NFL it's a crazy number. So, but yeah, man, I thought we did good. Hopefully, we got at least 2 starters, and that's the first 2 picks. I hope, but that's Dolphins right there in a
Yeah.
nutshell. That hope we
And
all hope
was it
every
Ollie
year.
Gordon, right? Is that his name? Ollie Gordon
Yep,
the second. Um,
yep,
I think he might be a contributor. He's not going to be a starter, I don't think, because you're not going to beat out
no,
Devon Achane. You're not going to beat out, Jalen Wright, unless they get hurt, right? But I think he might be that third down guy, the third down body, that we've been looking for how many years. So I'm anxious to see again what his contribution is going to look like. And what is he, a 6th round pick, if I remember correctly?
yeah,
So, I mean, if you can get a 6th round pick that can contribute to get you some first downs, then I'm all for it.
yeah, same. I think one of the safeties too that we got, whether the one that we drafted or the undrafted guy we got, both their tape looks really good. So hopefully one of them can contribute. We definitely need some, and I think we just missed on corners. So hopefully we try to do something in this second wave of free agency. After June 1st, there's going to be a lot of cuts. So maybe we could pick a couple guys up,
Yeah.
but we'll see what happens. I want to know, like, what's your opinion of the state of the team? Like, as far as, from the top down, how do you feel? Do you feel like this is the last year for this regime, or do you feel like maybe they might get a couple more years? What's your opinion on it?
I think that a lot is going to depend on how this team performs this season. If we're 10-7, I think they're okay to make it to next year because there's going to be a lot more salary cap available. There's going to be more draft picks available for us. But I think if you get to anything where it's 8 and 9 or below, I think there's going to be a lot of issues. Even, you know what? And if the Dolphins don't make the playoffs, I think there's definitely a risk for both Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel because the offense is pretty much staying the same. They bolstered the offensive line in theory, although we've lost Teron Armstead. Everybody else has remained the same. The new wide receiver number 3, is it Nico Ikane? Um,
Yeah,
he's a huge bodied wide receiver. The only reason why I remember him is I play fantasy football, and for about 8 or 9 weeks in a row, he was catching a touchdown every single week.
yeah,
I think he ended up catching 10 touchdowns in 9 weeks, is what I saw. And that's because he's kind of like, he boxes people out, kind of like what you think a tight end might do. So I think having that strong third wide receiver might be a difference maker. And then you got Devon Achane too. You got Jalen Wright in the backfield, and I think there's a lot of opportunity on the offense, but it's kind of staying consistent. The defense is where there's going to be a lot of questions.
yeah.
Um, but to that as well, if you look at that defensive line, now with Kenny, right, with Kenny, with Zach Sealer, and then Chubb coming back, which I saw a video of
Plethora of
him
pass
recently.
rushers. Yeah. Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
and then Chop, who really came on strong at the end of last season. If they're able to rush the quarterback, then it's not going to put as much pressure on the safeties in the corner. So I know I'm going to say this facetiously, but you don't need the Jalen Ramseys of the world back there if you have a strong defensive line. Although I would still like to have Jalen Ramsey back there, right? Don't get me wrong.
Definitely.
But we're going to end up having to sign some free agents for the cornerback spot because I don't think, was it Storm Duck, I think is one option, and then Cater Kohu is the other. So you've got to find some guys that can be competitive back there.
Yeah, it's
Um,
thin. Cam Smith, who hasn't really taken that next step.
and
So it's
Greer's like
it's
he's got to
pretty
sink or
thin.
swim at this point. I'm like, why weren't you telling him that after the first year? Why are we babying him
Yeah.
along, right?
He
But
said
I
he
think
can't
there's a
hold his
risk.
hand anymore.
Yeah, I tend to remain positive, but I'm not going to go out and say the Dolphins are going to go out and win 12 games. I just don't know if that's realistic based on what I'm seeing. But the expectations for this season appear to be low. Last year at
Mhm.
this time, the expectations of the season were high, coming off that prior year where Tua was just lighting numbers up, right? And we had scored
The
70
whole
points,
offense
right?
was crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. So we don't have a lot of high expectations, but it would be so Dolphins for them to come out and just have a kick-ass season,
Hmm.
and get the 12 or 13 wins because everything starts clicking. So that's my hope, and that's the reason why I watch every single game, because that's, I hope that it will happen, and we'll see.
Yeah, man. I hope so too. I'm just kind of letting stuff happen now, especially after last season with drama and everything, and then you got the whole Tyreek Hill situation. It's a lot, man. I just want them to play some good football, and that's the only way that fans are going to be happy. I'm sure some fans will still find something to complain about, but that's part of being a fan. You got to take
That's
the good
correct,
ones and the bad ones.
and everybody's got a
Uh,
right to be happy or not happy about what's
Yep,
going on. I just choose to be
that's right.
optimistic. So
Same here, man. I'm kind of, you know, I'm optimistic, but I'm kind of, hey, I toned it down a little bit. Let me see what happens first. They got to show me something.
definitely. So
So
so I'm the guy. Just so you know, I decided to buy my first ever season tickets for the Dolphins after the 1-15 season, because I felt like there was no way down. The only way
yeah,
is to go up, and that's when I got the tickets, and also at the same time, my wife was like, "Yeah, you can do it." I just got a promotion at work or something like that, and it worked out well. So, and I've been a season
yeah,
ticket holder ever since. And I don't, when I'm not dealing with medical stuff, I don't miss games at home.
I
I'll go to
know.
every preseason game. I'll go to every regular season game. I was trying to get to at least one away stadium every year, and man, if I could get to Spain, that would be amazing. I
Oof,
just don't see it happening this year, but
yeah,
that's going to be an amazing trip for whoever's going to make it.
yeah, an expensive one too.
Yes, yes. Actually, flights aren't as horrible if you're going out of Miami. Believe it or not, it's
Yeah,
they got
okay,
some direct flights from Miami to Spain, and they're not horrible. I mean, they're expensive compared to domestic flights, but when it comes to
gotcha.
international flights, you can spend thousands of dollars for international flights, and it's less than a
Oh yeah.
thousand.
Oh, nice. Less than 1,000. All right. Yeah, no, that's good. That's
Yeah,
really, that's actually
I did my
surprising.
research before I got sick.
There you go. Yeah, you were ready. You were ready.
I was.
All right, man. I'm gonna let you get out of here though, Biggie. I really appreciate you coming on. Like, this was an honor meeting you, man. And get well soon. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Have faith. Keep your head up, even on those down days, and everything's gonna work out. All right. You
Yeah, I
got a
couldn't. I
lot of people behind you.
I couldn't. I was getting choked up a little while ago but I'll be. I'm ready for the day when I'm able to tweet out that I'm done with the surgery, and I'm on my way to healing. So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you for this platform, Adrian. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, my
Of
friend.
course. Of course, man. And it's nkr.org/BHP638. Go there. Let's help Biggie out. Share this. Share it. Share it. Share it. Everybody share it. That's it. Don't stop sharing because we're going to get Biggie the help he needs. All right.
Awesome.
Fins up, Biggie.
Fins up. Absolutely.
And in the great words of Jackie Moon, everybody love everybody. Thank you, Biggie. Appreciate you.